Most people believe power comes from strength, from speaking louder, from reacting faster, from proving others wrong. But real power works differently. Real power is quiet. It shows itself in moments when others lose control, when emotions rise, when pressure builds. In those moments, most people react. They raise their voice. They rush their words. They let anger or fear take over, and without realizing it, they give away their power. This audiobook is about taking that power back. It is about learning how to stay calm when everything around you feels intense, how to think clearly when emotions try to control you, and how to respond with control instead of reacting with regret. If you want to master your emotions and stay in control no matter the situation, subscribe to this channel now. More chapters are coming, and each one will guide you step by step. This is not about suppressing emotions. It is about understanding them, and your journey begins now. Chapter 1. Why most people lose control. Most people believe they lose control because situations are too hard. They blame pressure. They blame other people. They blame timing. But loss of control does not begin outside. It begins inside. It begins in the moment when emotion rises faster than awareness. You may not notice it at first. It happens quickly. A word triggers you. A tone feels sharp. A situation feels unfair. In that instant, your body reacts. Your heart beats faster. Your breathing changes. Your muscles tighten. This is not weakness. It is a natural response. Your brain is trying to protect you. It reads the situation as a threat, not always a physical threat, sometimes a social one, a threat to your image, a threat to your respect, a threat to your control. And when the brain senses threat, it prepares you to act. It does not ask for permission. It does not wait for logic. It pushes you toward reaction. This is where most people lose control. They react before they understand what is happening. Reaction feels automatic. It feels necessary, but reaction is often misdirected. You raise your voice. You say something you did not mean. You act in a way you later regret. After it passes, you look back and think differently. You think more clearly. You wish you had responded another way. This is because clarity returns when emotion settles. The problem is not emotion itself. The problem is speed. Emotion rises fast. Awareness comes slower. If awareness does not catch up, reaction takes over. This gap is where control is lost. Most people never learn to notice this gap. They believe emotion and action are the same thing. They feel anger, so they act in anger. They feel fear, so they act in fear. But feeling is not the same as acting. This is the first truth of emotional control. You can feel everything without acting on everything. This idea may sound simple, but it changes everything. When you separate feeling from action, you create space. And in that space, control becomes possible. Another reason people lose control is identity. People attach themselves to their emotions. They say, "I am angry," instead of saying, "I feel anger." This may seem small, but it changes perception. When you say, "I am angry," the emotion becomes you. It takes over your identity. When you say, "I feel anger," the emotion becomes an experience, something you can observe, something you can manage. This shift creates distance. Distance reduces intensity. Intensity drives reaction. When intensity lowers, control increases. Another hidden reason people lose control is expectation. They expect things to go a certain way. They expect respect. They expect fairness. They expect understanding. When reality does not match expectation, frustration appears. Frustration grows into anger. Anger pushes action. The stronger the expectation, the stronger the reaction. Control begins when you loosen expectation, not by lowering standards, but by accepting unpredictability. People will not always act as you want. Situations will not always go your way. This is reality. Fighting reality creates tension. Accepting reality creates calm. Another factor is habit. Many people have practiced reacting for years. They have repeated the same patterns. Someone speaks sharply. They respond sharply. Something goes wrong. They panic. Patterns become automatic. Automatic behavior feels like personality. but it is learned. And what is learned can be changed. Change begins with awareness. You cannot change what you do not notice. Start by observing your reactions. Notice what triggers you. Notice how fast you react. Notice what you feel in your body. Observation creates understanding. Understanding creates choice. Another reason control is lost is lack of pause. Most reactions happen because there is no pause, no space between feeling and action. The pause is small, but it is powerful. Even 1 second can change everything. In that second, you can breathe, you can think, you can choose. Without that second, you react. With that second, you respond. Response is different from reaction. Reaction is automatic. Response is intentional. Intentional behavior is control. Many people believe they need to remove emotion to gain control. This is not true. Emotions are not the enemy. They carry information. Anger may signal injustice. Fear may signal risk. Sadness may signal loss. Emotions are signals, not commands. You can listen to the signal without obeying it. This is emotional control. Another important idea is that intensity is temporary. Strong emotions feel permanent. They feel overwhelming, but they pass. All emotions move in waves. They rise, they peak, they fall. If you act at the peak, you act at your worst clarity. If you wait, clarity returns. Waiting is not weakness. It is strength. It takes strength to pause when everything inside you wants to react. Another reason people lose control is external focus. They focus on what others are doing. They focus on what others said. They try to control external behavior, but control does not begin outside. It begins inside. You cannot control others. You can control your response. This shift is powerful. When you stop trying to control others, you gain control of yourself. Self-control is real power. Another hidden factor is energy. When you are tired, control weakens. When you are stressed, reactions increase. Emotional control requires energy. Without energy, the brain chooses shortcuts. Reaction is a shortcut. Response requires effort. Effort requires energy. This is why rest matters. This is why awareness of your state matters. Control is harder when you are exhausted. Another important idea is speed of thought. During emotional moments, thoughts race. Fast thoughts create fast actions. Slowing thought slows action. You can slow thought through breath. Breath is a bridge. When you slow your breath, your body calms. When your body calms, your mind follows. This creates space. Space allows control. Another reason people lose control is fear of losing control. This may sound strange, but when people feel emotions rising, they panic. They think, I am losing control. This fear increases intensity. Intensity increases reaction. Instead of fearing emotion, allow it. Allowing reduces resistance. Resistance increases pressure. Pressure leads to explosion. Allowing creates flow. Flow reduces intensity. Another factor is ego. Ego wants to be right. It wants to be respected. It wants to win. When ego is threatened, reaction rises. You defend. You attack. You argue. Control requires humility, not weakness. Clarity. You do not need to win every moment. You need to stay in control. Control is more valuable than winning. Another important idea is awareness of triggers. Everyone has triggers. Certain words, certain tones, certain situations. Triggers are personal. They come from past experiences. Understanding your triggers gives you power. When you know what triggers you, you can prepare. Preparation reduces surprise. Reduced surprise lowers reaction. Another reason control is lost is lack of practice. Emotional control is a skill. Skills require repetition. You do not build control in one moment. You build it over time, through small decisions, through small pauses, through awareness. Each time you choose response over reaction, you strengthen control. Each time you react, you reinforce the old pattern. This is why practice matters. Another important idea is that control does not mean suppression. Suppressing emotion creates pressure. Pressure builds over time. Eventually it breaks. Control is not suppression. It is direction. You feel the emotion. You guide your response. This is healthy control. Another hidden factor is environment. Some environments increase tension. Some people trigger stronger reactions. Awareness of environment helps. You can prepare mentally. Preparation increases control. Another reason people lose control is they believe emotions justify behavior. They think, I felt angry, so I had to react. This belief removes responsibility. Feeling does not justify action. You are responsible for your response. This responsibility is power. When you take responsibility, you take control. Another important idea is that control feels uncomfortable at first. You may feel like you are holding back. You may feel unnatural. This is normal. You are changing patterns. Change feels unfamiliar. With practice, it becomes natural. Another reason control is lost is impatience. People want immediate relief from emotion. Reaction gives quick relief, but it creates long-term problems. Control delays relief, but it creates long-term stability. Choose long-term stability. Another important idea is awareness of consequences. Reactions have consequences. Words cannot be taken back. Actions leave impact. When you remember consequences, you slow down. Slowing down increases control. Another hidden factor is identity belief. If you believe you are short-tempered, you act that way. Beliefs shape behavior. You can change beliefs. You can see yourself as someone learning control. This belief changes action. Another reason people lose control is lack of reflection. They react, then move on. They do not learn. Reflection turns experience into growth. Ask yourself what happened. Ask what you felt. Ask what you can do differently. This builds awareness. Awareness builds control. Another important idea is that control is built in calm moments, not only in intense ones. Practice when things are easy. Pause before speaking. Slow your response. These small practices prepare you for bigger moments. Another truth is that everyone struggles with control at times. You are not alone. The difference is willingness to improve. Improvement comes from effort. Effort comes from intention. Another important idea is that control is freedom. It may feel restrictive at first, but it frees you from regret. It frees you from impulsive actions. It frees you from emotional chaos. Freedom is power. Power is calm. Most people lose control because they never learn these principles. They live on reaction. They repeat patterns. But you are learning something different. You are learning to pause, to observe, to choose. This changes everything. You will still feel emotions. You will still feel intensity, but you will not be controlled by them. You will guide them. And that is where real power begins. Chapter 2. The space between feeling and action. There is a moment that most people never notice. It is small, it is quiet, but it changes everything. This moment exists between what you feel and what you do. Most people skip it. They feel something and they act. The process feels instant, but it is not instant. There is always a gap. That gap is where control lives. When someone says something that triggers you, the emotion rises fast. Your body reacts. Your thoughts begin to move. In that same moment, there is a space, a brief pause before action. This pause may be less than a second, but it is real. If you learn to notice it, you gain power. If you miss it, you lose control. Most people are trained to ignore this space. They grow up reacting quickly. Quick reactions are often praised. They look confident. They feel strong. But fast is not always effective. Fast reactions often lead to regret. The space between feeling and action is where you choose your response. Choice is control. Without that space, there is no choice, only reaction. The first step is awareness. You must begin to notice this gap. At first, it will be hard. Everything will feel fast. Emotions will feel immediate. But with practice, you will start to see it. You will feel the moment before you speak, the moment before you act. That moment is your opportunity. In that moment, you can breathe. Breathing is simple, but it is powerful. A slow breath interrupts reaction. It sends a signal to your body. The signal is calm. Calm slows everything down. When things slow down, you can think. Thinking brings clarity. Clarity brings better action. Another important idea is that you do not need a long pause. You only need a small one. Even half a second can change your response. In that small pause, you can ask yourself one question. What is the best response here? Not the fastest, not the easiest, the best. This question shifts your focus. It moves you from emotion to intention. Intention creates control. Many people believe they need to remove emotion to create this space. That is not true. The space exists even when emotion is strong. You do not remove emotion. You create distance from it. Distance allows observation. Observation reduces intensity. When intensity lowers, the space becomes easier to access. Another helpful idea is labeling what you feel. When emotion rises, name it. You can say internally, "This is anger," or "This is frustration." Naming creates separation. You are no longer inside the emotion. You are observing it. Observation expands the gap. A larger gap makes control easier. Another challenge is speed of thought. Emotions create fast thoughts. Fast thoughts push fast actions. Slowing thought slows action. You can slow thought by focusing on breath. Breath anchors you. When you focus on breath, your mind settles. A settled mind sees the gap more clearly. Another important idea is practice in small moments. You do not need intense situations to learn this. Practice in daily life. Pause before answering a simple question. Pause before sending a message. These small pauses train your brain. Training builds habit. Habit makes the gap easier to find. Another reason people miss the gap is fear. They fear losing control of the situation. They think reacting quickly gives them power, but quick reactions often give away power. Control comes from choosing, not reacting. Choosing requires the gap. Another helpful idea is accepting discomfort. The gap may feel uncomfortable at first. It may feel like hesitation. It may feel like weakness, but it is not. It is control. You are breaking old patterns. New patterns feel unfamiliar. With repetition, the gap feels natural. Another important idea is that the gap protects you. It protects your words. It protects your actions. It protects your relationships. Many problems come from actions taken without pause. A small gap prevents large consequences. Another challenge is external pressure. Others may expect quick responses. They may push you. You do not need to match their speed. You can slow down. Slowing down shows control. Control commands respect. Another helpful idea is visualizing the gap. You can imagine a small space between feeling and action, a space where you stand. In that space, you are calm. You observe. You choose. This image helps your mind understand the concept. Understanding supports practice. Another important idea is repetition. The gap becomes stronger with use. Each time you pause, you reinforce control. Each time you react, you reinforce habit. Your brain learns from repetition. Choose wisely. Another challenge is emotional intensity. Strong emotions make the gap harder to notice. This is why practice matters. The more you practice in small moments, the stronger you become in big ones. Strength comes from preparation. Preparation happens daily. Another helpful idea is reminding yourself that you always have a choice, even when it feels automatic. There is always a moment of choice. The gap is that moment. When you remember this, you slow down. Slowing down reveals the gap. Another important idea is letting go of urgency. Emotions create urgency. They make everything feel immediate. Most situations are not urgent. They feel urgent. This is different. When you question urgency, you create space. Space allows control. Another challenge is habit loops. Trigger leads to emotion. Emotion leads to action. This loop feels fixed. The gap breaks the loop. When you insert a pause, the pattern changes. Change creates new behavior. New behavior builds control. Another helpful idea is focusing on long-term results. Reactions may feel good in the moment, but they often create regret. Responses feel slower, but they create better outcomes. Thinking long-term strengthens the gap. Another important idea is awareness of consequences. Before acting, you can ask what will happen next. This question slows you down. Slowing down reveals the gap. Another challenge is identity. If you see yourself as reactive, you act that way. If you see yourself as someone learning control, you act differently. Identity shapes behavior. You can change identity through action. Each pause reinforces a new identity. Another helpful idea is grounding through your body. Feel your feet. Feel your hands. This brings you out of your head. Grounding increases awareness. Awareness reveals the gap. Another important idea is patience. The gap will not appear clearly at first. It will grow with time. Be patient. Practice daily. Another challenge is forgetting. In emotional moments, you may forget everything. This is normal. Do not judge yourself. Return to practice. Each attempt builds skill. Another helpful idea is simplicity. Do not overcomplicate the gap. It is just a pause, a breath, a moment. Simple actions create powerful change. Another important idea is self-trust. Trust that you can choose differently. Trust that you can improve. Trust builds confidence. Confidence strengthens control. Another challenge is expecting perfection. You will still react sometimes. This is normal. Learning is not perfect. Progress matters more. Another helpful idea is reflection. After a situation, think about the gap. Did you notice it? Did you miss it? This reflection improves awareness. Awareness improves next time. Another important idea is calm repetition. Practice without pressure. Pressure blocks learning. Calm practice builds skill. Another challenge is emotional attachment. You may feel attached to reacting. It may feel natural, but natural does not mean helpful. Choose what serves you. Another helpful idea is breathing before speaking. Make this a habit. Breath creates space. Space creates control. Another important idea is slowing your voice. When you speak slowly, you think more clearly. Clear thinking supports better action. Another challenge is environment. Some environments push speed. Stay aware. You can create your own pace. Your pace is your control. Another helpful idea is remembering that control is strength, not reaction. Strength is calm. Calm comes from the gap. Another important idea is commitment. You must commit to using the gap. Without commitment, habits return. Commitment builds consistency. Consistency builds control. Another challenge is impatience. You may want quick results. This takes time. Give yourself that time. Another helpful idea is celebrating small wins. Noticing one pause matters. Each pause is progress. Progress builds confidence. Another important idea is awareness of triggers. When you know your triggers, you prepare. Preparation makes the gap easier to access. Another challenge is pressure to respond. You do not always need to respond immediately. You can pause. You can think. This is allowed. Another helpful idea is trusting silence. Silence is part of the gap. Silence is not weakness. Silence is control. Another important idea is consistency over intensity. Small daily practice beats rare big effort. Consistency builds habit. Habit builds identity. Identity builds control. The space between feeling and action is always there. You do not create it, you discover it. Once you see it, you can use it. Once you use it, you gain control. And once you gain control, everything changes. Chapter 3. Understanding your emotional triggers. Emotions do not appear out of nowhere. They are not random. They follow patterns. If you look closely, you will begin to see them. Certain situations affect you more than others. Certain words stay in your mind longer. Certain tones change your mood instantly. These are not accidents. They are triggers. A trigger is something that activates a strong emotional response. It can be a word, a look, a memory, a situation. The trigger itself is not the problem. The reaction that follows is where control is lost. Most people focus only on the reaction. They try to fix behavior after it happens, but real control begins earlier. It begins with understanding what triggers you. When you understand your triggers, you are no longer surprised. And when you are not surprised, you are more prepared. Preparation creates calm. Many triggers are connected to past experiences. Something in the present reminds your brain of something from before. Your brain reacts as if the past is happening again. It tries to protect you. This protection is automatic. You may not even realize it is happening. For example, a simple comment may feel like an attack. A delay may feel like rejection. A disagreement may feel like disrespect. The situation may be small, but your reaction feels big. This is the power of triggers. They do not respond to the present alone. They respond to the past. Understanding this changes how you see your emotions. You stop blaming the situation alone. You start looking inside. Another important idea is that triggers are personal. What affects you deeply may not affect someone else at all. This is because each person has a different history, different experiences, different meanings. Your triggers belong to you. This is not a weakness. It is information. Information gives you power. When you know what affects you, you can prepare for it. Preparation does not remove the trigger, but it reduces its power. Another reason triggers feel strong is speed. They act fast. Before you think, you feel. Before you choose, your body reacts. This is why awareness is important. You need to slow down the process. You need to notice the moment when the trigger activates. At first, this is difficult. Everything feels instant. But with practice, you will begin to see it. You will notice the first sign, a change in breath, a tightening in your chest, a sudden thought. These are early signals. Early signals give you time. Time creates choice. Choice creates control. Another helpful idea is naming your triggers. You can say to yourself, "This is one of my triggers." This simple statement creates distance. You are no longer lost in the emotion. You are observing it. Observation reduces intensity. When intensity lowers, control becomes easier. Another important idea is curiosity. Instead of judging your reaction, be curious. Ask yourself why this affects you. What does it remind you of? What meaning are you giving it? Curiosity replaces judgment. Judgment creates tension. Curiosity creates understanding. Understanding builds control. Another reason triggers feel overwhelming is belief. You may believe something about the situation. You may believe you are being disrespected. You may believe you are being ignored. These beliefs shape your reaction, but beliefs are not always accurate. They are interpretations. When you question your interpretation, intensity reduces. You can ask yourself if there is another way to see this. This question creates space. Space weakens the trigger. Another important idea is separating present from past. When you feel a strong reaction, ask yourself if this belongs only to now. Sometimes the answer is no. Sometimes you are reacting to more than the moment. This awareness reduces confusion. It helps you respond to the present instead of the past. Another helpful idea is tracking patterns. Notice when your reactions repeat. Similar situations may trigger similar emotions. Patterns reveal triggers. When you see patterns, you understand yourself better. Understanding leads to control. Another challenge is denial. Some people avoid looking at their triggers. They blame others completely. They say, "That person made me angry." Others may contribute, but your reaction is yours. Taking responsibility is not blame, it is power. When you take responsibility, you gain control. Another important idea is acceptance. You do not need to remove all triggers. You need to understand them. Acceptance reduces resistance. Resistance increases intensity. Acceptance creates calm. Another reason triggers feel strong is lack of awareness. When you do not know your triggers, they control you. When you know them, you prepare. Preparation changes everything. You can enter situations with awareness. Awareness reduces surprise. Reduced surprise lowers reaction. Another helpful idea is creating a mental reminder. When you enter a situation that may trigger you, remind yourself to stay calm. This prepares your mind. Preparation strengthens control. Another important idea is that triggers lose power over time. The more you observe them, the weaker they become. Observation breaks automatic patterns. Patterns weaken when they are not repeated. Another challenge is reacting before awareness. You may still react sometimes. This is normal. Learning takes time. After the reaction, reflect. Ask yourself what triggered you. This reflection builds awareness for next time. Another helpful idea is grounding in the body. When triggered, return to your breath. Feel your body. This slows the reaction. Slowing creates space. Space allows choice. Another important idea is reducing emotional buildup. If you ignore small emotions, they build. Then triggers feel stronger. Process emotions regularly. Do not carry them for too long. Releasing reduces intensity. Another reason triggers feel powerful is attachment to control. You may want things to go your way. When they do not, frustration rises. Letting go of control reduces triggers. You control yourself, not everything else. This understanding creates calm. Another helpful idea is perspective. Not everything is personal. Sometimes people act from their own stress, not from intent to harm you. Seeing this reduces reaction. Another important idea is patience. Understanding triggers takes time. You will discover them slowly. Be patient with yourself. Another challenge is emotional memory. The brain remembers strong emotions. It reacts quickly to similar situations. This is normal. Awareness helps you respond differently. Another helpful idea is writing down your triggers. This makes them clear. Clarity improves awareness. Awareness improves control. Another important idea is that triggers are opportunities. They show where growth is needed. Instead of avoiding them, learn from them. Learning builds strength. Strength builds control. Another challenge is shame. You may feel bad about your triggers. Do not judge yourself. Everyone has them. What matters is how you handle them. Another helpful idea is focusing on progress. You do not need to remove triggers completely. You need to reduce reaction. Each small improvement matters. Another important idea is self-compassion. Be kind to yourself while learning. Kindness reduces pressure. Reduced pressure improves control. Another reason triggers feel strong is lack of emotional vocabulary. If you cannot name what you feel, it feels overwhelming. Expand your awareness. Name your emotions clearly. Clarity reduces intensity. Another helpful idea is slowing down interpretation. Do not jump to conclusions. Pause and observe. Observation creates calm. Another important idea is that triggers can change. As you grow, some triggers fade. New ones may appear. Stay aware. Awareness keeps you in control. Another challenge is expecting immediate mastery. This is a process. Growth takes repetition. Be consistent. Another helpful idea is using triggers as reminders. When triggered, remind yourself to pause. This turns a trigger into a tool for awareness. Another important idea is that emotional control begins before the reaction. It begins with understanding. Understanding your triggers is the foundation. When you know what affects you, you are no longer blind. You see the pattern. You see the moment. You see the choice. And when you see the choice, you gain control. That is where real power begins. Chapter 4. Training your mind to stay calm under pressure. Pressure changes everything. It changes how you think. It changes how you feel. It changes how you act. In calm moments, you can think clearly. You can choose your words. You can control your actions. But when pressure rises, that clarity fades. Your thoughts speed up. Your body tightens. Your focus narrows. You stop choosing. You start reacting. This is where emotional control is tested. Most people try to stay calm only when pressure appears. But by then, it is already difficult. Real calm is built before pressure arrives. It is trained, just like a muscle. You do not build strength in one moment. You build it through repetition. Calm works the same way. You train your mind in small moments, so it can stay steady in big ones. The first step is understanding pressure. Pressure is not always external. It is not just about the situation. It is about how you interpret the situation. Two people can face the same moment. One stays calm, one loses control. The difference is perception. If you see pressure as danger, your body reacts strongly. If you see it as a challenge, your body stays more stable. This shift is powerful. You do not remove pressure, you change your relationship with it. Another important idea is familiarity. The unknown creates fear. The familiar creates calm. When your mind is used to certain situations, it reacts less. This is why experience builds confidence. But you do not need to wait for experience. You can train familiarity. You can imagine situations. You can prepare mentally. Preparation reduces surprise. Reduced surprise lowers pressure. Another helpful idea is mental rehearsal. Before entering a situation, imagine yourself staying calm. See yourself breathing slowly. See yourself speaking clearly. This trains your mind. Your brain does not fully separate imagination from reality. Practice in your mind supports action in real life. Another important idea is focusing on process instead of outcome. Pressure increases when you focus on results. You think about what might go wrong. You think about what others will think. This creates anxiety. When you focus on process, you stay present. You focus on breathing. You focus on listening. You focus on responding. Process keeps you grounded. Grounded thinking supports calm. Another reason pressure overwhelms people is lack of preparation. Preparation does not mean controlling everything. It means preparing yourself. Know your intention. Know your approach. Clarity reduces stress. Another helpful idea is slowing your body. Your body and mind are connected. If your body is tense, your mind feels pressure. If your body is calm, your mind follows. Relax your shoulders. Slow your breath. These small actions change your state. State controls response. Another important idea is reducing mental noise. Pressure creates many thoughts. What if I fail? What if I say the wrong thing? These thoughts increase tension. You do not need to fight them. You can let them pass. Focus on one thing, your breath, your next word. Simplicity reduces pressure. Another helpful idea is breaking moments into parts. Pressure feels large when you see everything at once. Break it down. Focus on the next step. One sentence, one response. Small steps feel manageable. Manageable moments reduce overwhelm. Another important idea is acceptance. You cannot remove pressure completely. Trying to remove it creates more stress. Accept that pressure exists. Work with it. Acceptance reduces resistance. Resistance increases tension. Another reason people lose calm is fear of mistakes. They want everything to go perfectly. Perfection creates pressure. Control comes from flexibility. Allow room for mistakes. Mistakes do not destroy you. They teach you. Learning reduces fear. Another helpful idea is grounding in the present. Pressure pulls you into the future. It makes you imagine outcomes. Return to now. What is happening right now? Not what might happen. Presence reduces anxiety. Another important idea is controlling your pace. Pressure pushes you to rush. Rushing increases mistakes. Slow your pace, even slightly. This creates control. Control reduces pressure. Another challenge is emotional build-up. If you carry stress from earlier, pressure feels stronger. Release small stress regularly. Do not carry everything. Lightness supports calm. Another helpful idea is self-talk. What you say to yourself matters. If you tell yourself you cannot handle pressure, you believe it. If you tell yourself to stay calm, your mind listens. Simple phrases help. Stay calm, slow down, breathe. These reminders guide your response. Another important idea is exposure. You become better at handling pressure by facing it. Avoidance increases fear. Exposure reduces it. Start small. Face small pressures. Build gradually. Gradual exposure builds strength. Another challenge is comparison. You may compare yourself to others. You think they handle pressure better. Comparison increases pressure. Focus on yourself. Your growth matters. Another helpful idea is energy management. Your ability to stay calm depends on energy. If you are tired, pressure feels heavier. Take care of your energy. Rest. Recharge. Energy supports control. Another important idea is clarity of values. When you know what matters, pressure reduces. You act with purpose. Purpose gives direction. Direction creates calm. Another helpful idea is detachment from outcome. Do your best. Let go of results. Attachment creates pressure. Detachment creates freedom. Freedom supports calm. Another challenge is overthinking. Pressure increases thinking. Thinking becomes scattered. Return to simplicity. Focus on one thing. Clarity reduces pressure. Another important idea is consistency. Calm is built through repetition. Practice daily. Small moments matter. Consistency builds habit. Habit builds calm. Another helpful idea is using pressure as training. Each pressure moment is practice, not a test. Practice mindset reduces fear. Another important idea is reflection. After pressure moments, reflect. What worked? What did not? Learning improves next time. Another challenge is expecting instant calm. Calm takes time. Be patient. Progress is gradual. Another helpful idea is focusing on control. You cannot control everything. You can control your breath, your pace, your response. Focus on what you can control. This reduces pressure. Another important idea is resilience. Resilience is the ability to recover. You may feel pressure. You may feel stress. Recovery brings you back. Practice recovery. It builds strength. Another helpful idea is staying physically grounded. Feel your body. Feel your posture. Grounding reduces mental drift. Another important idea is trusting yourself. Trust that you can handle pressure. Trust builds calm. Another challenge is negative anticipation. You expect things to go wrong. This increases pressure. Shift focus. Expect yourself to stay calm. Expectation shapes experience. Another helpful idea is slowing your reactions. Even when pressure rises, pause. Pause creates control. Control reduces pressure. Another important idea is learning from experience. Each situation teaches you. Learning builds confidence. Confidence reduces pressure. Another helpful idea is focusing on progress. Notice improvement. Small changes matter. Progress builds belief. Another important idea is staying flexible. Pressure changes situations. Adapt. Adaptation supports calm. Another challenge is holding too much responsibility. You are not responsible for everything. Release what is not yours. Lightness reduces pressure. Another helpful idea is breathing through pressure. Breath is always available. Use it. It anchors you. Another important idea is that calm is a skill. Skills improve with practice. You are building this skill. Each moment matters. Pressure will always exist, but your response can change. You can train your mind to stay steady. You can train your body to stay relaxed. You can train your response to stay controlled. This training creates real power. Not loud power, not aggressive power, quiet power. The power to stay calm when others lose control. And that is where true strength lives. Chapter 5. Detaching from the need to react. Most reactions come from one simple urge, the urge to respond immediately. Someone says something, you feel something. You want to reply right away. This urge feels strong. It feels necessary, but it is not. This urge is the habit of reaction, and it is one of the biggest reasons people lose control. Many people believe that reacting quickly shows strength. They think silence means weakness. They think waiting means losing. But real strength is different. Real strength is the ability to pause, to feel without acting, to choose your response. This is detachment. Detachment does not mean you do not care. It means you do not let every emotion control your actions. You still feel everything, but you do not react to everything. This creates freedom. Most people are controlled by their impulses. They feel something and they follow it. Anger tells them to speak harshly. Fear tells them to withdraw. Ego tells them to prove a point. They follow these signals without question. Detachment breaks this pattern. It gives you space. In that space, you decide. Another important idea is that not everything deserves a reaction. Some words are said in frustration. Some actions come from stress. Some moments are not worth your energy. If you react to everything, you lose control of your energy. Control comes from choosing where to engage. You do not need to respond to every comment. You do not need to correct every mistake. You do not need to win every argument. Letting go is power. Another reason people struggle to detach is ego. Ego wants to defend. It wants to prove. It wants to be right. When ego is triggered, reaction feels urgent. You feel the need to respond immediately. But most of the time, this urgency is not real. It is emotional. When you detach from ego, urgency fades. You realize that not every moment requires defense. You can stay silent. You can stay calm. Silence is not defeat. Silence is control. Another important idea is that reaction is often about control. People react because they want to control the situation. They want to change what was said. They want to change how others see them. But you cannot control everything. Trying to control others creates frustration. Detachment accepts this. You control your response, not everything else. This acceptance creates calm. Another helpful idea is observing without absorbing. You can notice what is happening without taking it personally. Someone may speak harshly. You can hear it without absorbing the emotion. This is a skill. At first, everything feels personal. With practice, you create distance. Distance reduces reaction. Another important idea is emotional independence. Your state should not depend on others. If someone is angry, you do not need to become angry. If someone is negative, you do not need to absorb it. Detachment protects your state. Your calm becomes stable. Stability is power. Another challenge is habit. You may be used to reacting quickly. This habit feels natural. Breaking it feels uncomfortable. You may feel like you are holding back. This is normal. You are changing patterns. With time, detachment feels natural. Another helpful idea is delaying response. You do not need to respond immediately. You can wait. Waiting gives you clarity. Clarity improves response. Even a short delay changes everything. Another important idea is letting emotions pass. Emotions rise and fall. If you react at the peak, you act without clarity. If you wait, the intensity lowers. Lower intensity leads to better decisions. Patience supports control. Another reason people struggle to detach is fear of losing respect. They think not reacting makes them look weak. But calm control earns respect. People notice when you stay composed. They trust your stability. Respect comes from control, not reaction. Another helpful idea is focusing on outcome. Ask yourself what reaction will create. Will it improve the situation? Will it make things worse? This question slows you down. Slowing down creates space. Space allows detachment. Another important idea is energy management. Every reaction costs energy. If you react to everything, you drain yourself. Detachment protects energy. You choose where to invest. This keeps you strong. Another challenge is emotional attachment. You may feel attached to certain outcomes. You want things to go your way. When they do not, reaction rises. Detachment loosens this attachment. You do your best. You accept the rest. Acceptance creates calm. Another helpful idea is breathing before reacting. Breath creates a pause. Pause creates choice. Choice creates control. Make this a habit. Before speaking, breathe. Another important idea is perspective. Not everything is as important as it feels. Emotions amplify importance. Step back. See the bigger picture. This reduces urgency. Reduced urgency supports detachment. Another challenge is fear of silence. You may feel the need to fill space. You may feel uncomfortable not responding. Silence is not weakness. Silence is strength. It shows you are not controlled by impulse. Another helpful idea is choosing peace over proving a point. Winning an argument often creates more conflict. Staying calm preserves peace. Peace is more valuable than being right. Another important idea is understanding others. People act from their own emotions. Their words reflect their state, not your worth. This understanding reduces reaction. Another challenge is emotional buildup. If you hold emotions, they explode later. Process emotions regularly. Release them in healthy ways. This makes detachment easier. Another helpful idea is practicing in small moments. You do not need big situations. Practice not reacting to small things. This builds habit. Habit builds control. Another important idea is identity. See yourself as someone who stays calm. Identity shapes behavior. When you believe you are calm, you act calm. Another challenge is immediate gratification. Reaction feels satisfying in the moment, but it creates long-term problems. Detachment may feel slow, but it creates long-term stability. Choose long-term stability. Another helpful idea is observing your thoughts. Thoughts push reaction. Notice them. You do not need to follow every thought. Observation creates distance. Distance reduces reaction. Another important idea is letting go of control over others. You cannot control what people say or do. You can control how you respond. This is where your power is. Another challenge is expectation. You expect certain behavior. When expectations are not met, reaction rises. Reduce expectation. Accept reality. This creates calm. Another helpful idea is reminding yourself that you always have a choice. Even when it feels automatic, you can choose not to react. This reminder builds control. Another important idea is patience. Detachment takes time. You will not master it instantly. Be consistent. Practice daily. Another challenge is forgetting. In emotional moments, you may forget everything. This is normal. Keep practicing. It will become natural. Another helpful idea is reflecting after situations. Notice when you reacted. Notice when you stayed calm. Learn from both. Learning builds awareness. Another important idea is self-respect. Detachment is not about ignoring everything. It is about choosing wisely. You respond when it matters. You stay silent when it does not. This balance is power. Another challenge is emotional triggers. Some triggers are strong. They make detachment harder. Awareness helps. Preparation helps. You improve over time. Another helpful idea is trusting yourself. Trust that you can handle situations calmly. Trust builds confidence. Confidence supports detachment. Another important idea is freedom. Detachment frees you from impulse. It frees you from regret. It frees you from emotional chaos. Freedom is power. Another challenge is consistency. You need to practice regularly. Consistency builds habit. Habit builds identity. Identity builds control. Another helpful idea is focusing on progress. Small improvements matter. Each moment of control counts. Progress builds belief. Another important idea is that detachment is not cold. It is calm. You still care. You still feel. But you choose your response. This is true control. Most people react because they have never learned to pause. They follow impulse. They repeat patterns. But you are learning something different. You are learning to observe, to pause, to choose. This changes everything. You will still feel emotions. You will still face pressure. But you will not be controlled by them. You will decide when to act, when to stay silent, when to let go. And that is real power. The power to stay calm while others lose control. Chapter 6. Mastering your breath to control your emotions. Your breath is always with you. You do not need to learn it. You do not need to find it. It is already there. But most people ignore it. They breathe without awareness. They breathe without control. And because of that, they lose one of the most powerful tools they have. Your breath controls your state. It affects your body. It affects your mind. It affects your emotions. When your breath is fast, your body feels stress. When your breath is shallow, your mind feels pressure. When your breath is calm, everything begins to settle. This is not theory. This is how your body works. Your breath sends signals to your brain. Fast breathing tells your brain there is danger. Slow breathing tells your brain you are safe. Safety creates calm. Calm creates control. Most people try to control emotions with thoughts. They try to think their way out of stress. But emotions do not respond well to thinking alone. They respond to the body, and breath is the bridge between body and mind. When you control your breath, you influence both. Another important idea is awareness. You must first notice your breath. In calm moments, your breath may feel normal, but in pressure, it changes quickly. It becomes short. It becomes tight. It becomes fast. This happens without you realizing it. Awareness is the first step. When you notice your breath, you gain control. Without awareness, everything stays automatic. Another helpful idea is slowing down your breath. You do not need to force it. You only need to guide it. Take a slow breath in, then a slower breath out. The exhale is important. A longer exhale tells your body to relax. Relaxation reduces emotional intensity. When intensity lowers, clarity returns. Another important idea is using breath during triggers. When you feel anger rising, return to your breath. Do not react immediately. Pause. Take one slow breath, then another. This small action changes everything. It interrupts reaction. It creates space. In that space, you can choose. Another reason breath is powerful is because it is always available. No matter where you are, no matter what is happening, you can return to it. You do not need special tools. You only need awareness. Another helpful idea is practicing breath in calm moments. Do not wait for stress. Practice when you are relaxed. Slow your breath. Notice how it feels. This builds familiarity. When pressure comes, your body remembers. Familiar patterns are easier to access. Another important idea is posture. Your posture affects your breath. If your body is tight, your breath is restricted. If your body is relaxed, your breath flows. Relax your shoulders. Keep your chest open. This supports better breathing. Better breathing supports control. Another challenge is forgetting to breathe consciously. In emotional moments, everything speeds up. You forget simple things. This is why practice matters. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes. Eventually, your breath becomes your first response. Another helpful idea is connecting breath with pause. Before you speak, breathe. Before you react, breathe. This creates a habit. Habit builds control. Another important idea is breath as a reset. If you feel overwhelmed, pause and focus only on breathing. Nothing else. Just breathe slowly. This resets your system. Reset reduces intensity. Reduced intensity improves decision-making. Another reason breath works is because it shifts focus. When you focus on your breath, your mind leaves stress. It returns to the present. Presence reduces anxiety. Another helpful idea is counting your breath. You can count slowly as you inhale, then count as you exhale. Counting keeps your mind focused. Focus prevents distraction. Distraction increases stress. Another important idea is consistency. Breath control improves with repetition. The more you practice, the stronger it becomes. Like any skill, another challenge is impatience. You may expect immediate results. Breathing works quickly, but mastery takes time. Be patient. Another helpful idea is noticing how your body feels. When you breathe slowly, your body softens. Your muscles relax. Your face relaxes. This physical change affects your emotions. Body and mind are connected. Another important idea is using breath before important moments, before a conversation, before a decision. Take a few slow breaths. This prepares your mind. Preparation reduces pressure. Another challenge is shallow breathing habits. Many people breathe from the chest. This limits oxygen. It increases tension. Try to breathe deeper. Let your breath fill your body. This creates calm. Another helpful idea is making breathing automatic. Practice so often that it becomes natural. Then in pressure, it happens without effort. Automatic calm is powerful. Another important idea is breath and voice. Your voice depends on your breath. When you breathe well, your voice is steady. A steady voice shows control. Another challenge is emotional spikes. Sometimes emotions rise quickly. In those moments, return to breath immediately. Even one slow breath helps. Another helpful idea is using breath to delay reaction. Instead of speaking, breathe. This delay protects you. Protection supports control. Another important idea is simplicity. Do not complicate breathing. Slow in, slow out. That is enough. Another challenge is distractions. Your mind may wander. Bring it back to breath. Again and again. This builds focus. Another helpful idea is practicing daily, even a few minutes. Consistency matters more than duration. Another important idea is breath as a foundation. Many skills depend on it. Calm depends on it. Focus depends on it. Control depends on it. Another challenge is ignoring breath when calm. Use calm moments to practice. This prepares you. Preparation builds strength. Another helpful idea is noticing change. Pay attention to how you feel after breathing slowly. You will notice calm. This reinforces the habit. Another important idea is that breath is power. It gives you control over your state. State controls your actions. Actions create outcomes. Another challenge is believing it is too simple. Many people ignore simple tools. They look for complex solutions, but simple tools are powerful. Breath is one of them. Another helpful idea is trusting the process. Breath will help. Use it consistently. Another important idea is integration. Combine breath with awareness. Combine it with pause. This strengthens control. Another challenge is stress buildup. If you ignore stress, it grows. Use breath to release it regularly. Release prevents overload. Another helpful idea is calm repetition. Practice gently. Do not force. Calm practice builds calm results. Another important idea is confidence. When you control your breath, you feel in control. This builds confidence. Confidence supports emotional control. Another challenge is intensity. Strong emotions feel overwhelming. Breath reduces intensity. Reduced intensity creates space. Another helpful idea is grounding. Breath brings you back to the present. Presence reduces fear. Another important idea is habit. Make breathing your first response. Before reacting, breathe. This habit changes everything. Another challenge is consistency. Stay consistent. Practice daily. Another helpful idea is simplicity again. Return to basics. Slow breath, calm mind, clear action. Another important idea is that breath connects everything. Body, mind, emotion. When breath is steady, everything aligns. Alignment creates control. Control creates calm. Calm creates power. And this power is always within you. You just need to use it. Chapter 7. Letting go of the need to control everything. Many people believe control brings peace. They believe if they can control people, outcomes, and situations, they will feel calm. But the opposite is often true. The more you try to control everything, the more tension you feel. The more things slip out of your hands, the more frustration grows. This creates a cycle. You try to control more. Things resist. You feel more pressure. And slowly, your calm disappears. Emotional control does not come from controlling everything. It comes from knowing what to control and what to release. This distinction changes everything. There are things you can control, your thoughts, your actions, your responses, and there are things you cannot control, other people, their reactions, unexpected outcomes. When you confuse these two, stress increases. When you separate them, calm appears. Most emotional reactions come from trying to control what is not yours. You want people to behave a certain way. You want situations to go as planned. When reality does not match your expectations, frustration rises. Frustration leads to reaction. Control begins with acceptance, not passive acceptance, clear acceptance. You see reality as it is, not as you wish it to be. This reduces resistance. Resistance creates tension. Acceptance creates space. Another important idea is attachment. You may feel attached to outcomes. You want things to go your way. You want specific results. This attachment creates pressure. Pressure increases emotional intensity. When you loosen attachment, pressure drops. You still act, you still care, but you do not depend on the outcome for your peace. This is freedom. Another reason people struggle to let go is fear. They believe if they stop controlling, everything will fall apart. This fear is not accurate. You are not giving up control. You are focusing it. You are shifting control from outside to inside. This is where real power is. Internal control is stable. External control is uncertain. When your calm depends on others, it becomes fragile. When your calm depends on you, it becomes strong. Another helpful idea is observing your need to control. Notice when you feel the urge. It often comes with tension. Your body tightens. Your thoughts become rigid. This is a signal that you are trying to control too much. Awareness allows you to step back. Stepping back reduces pressure. Another important idea is flexibility. Rigid thinking creates stress. Flexible thinking creates calm. When you expect one outcome, you resist alternatives. When you accept multiple possibilities, you adapt. Adaptation supports control. Control does not mean forcing. It means adjusting. Another challenge is perfection. You may want everything to be right. You may want everything to go smoothly. Perfection is unrealistic. Chasing it creates frustration. Letting go of perfection creates ease. Ease supports calm. Another helpful idea is focusing on effort instead of outcome. You control your effort. You do not control results. When you focus on effort, you feel stable. When you focus on results, you feel anxious. Stability builds confidence. Another important idea is trust. You need to trust that you can handle what comes. Trust reduces the need to control everything. When you trust yourself, you do not fear uncertainty. Uncertainty becomes manageable. Another reason people try to control everything is discomfort with uncertainty. Uncertainty feels uncomfortable. It feels unsafe. But uncertainty is part of life. You cannot remove it. You can learn to live with it. Acceptance reduces fear. Fear drives control. When fear lowers, control becomes balanced. Another helpful idea is simplifying your focus. When everything feels important, you try to control everything. This creates overwhelm. Focus on what truly matters. Let go of the rest. Simplicity reduces stress. Another important idea is emotional independence. Your emotions should not depend on external outcomes. If they do, you lose control easily. When your emotions come from within, you stay steady. Steadiness is power. Another challenge is reacting to others. You may try to control how others think about you. You may try to manage their opinions. This is exhausting. You cannot control others' perceptions. Let it go. Focus on your actions. This creates freedom. Another helpful idea is using questions. When you feel the urge to control, ask yourself this: is this within my control? If the answer is no, release it. This simple question brings clarity. Clarity reduces stress. Another important idea is energy. Trying to control everything drains energy. Low energy reduces emotional control. When you protect your energy, you stay calm. Calm supports control. Another challenge is habit. You may be used to controlling everything. This habit feels normal. Breaking it feels uncomfortable. With practice, it becomes easier. Another helpful idea is letting situations unfold. You do not need to interfere in everything. Some situations resolve on their own. Patience allows this. Patience reduces stress. Another important idea is perspective. Not everything needs your control. Some things are small. Some things will not matter later. Seeing the bigger picture reduces urgency. Reduced urgency supports calm. Another reason people struggle to let go is identity. They believe being in control defines them. But true strength is not in control of everything. It is in control of yourself. Self-control is stable. External control is fragile. Another helpful idea is grounding. When you feel overwhelmed, return to your breath. Grounding brings you back to the present. Presence reduces anxiety. Another important idea is acceptance of imperfection. Things will go wrong sometimes. People will act unexpectedly. Accept this. Acceptance reduces reaction. Another challenge is fear of losing respect. You may think letting go makes you weak, but calm control earns respect. People trust those who are steady. Steadiness is power. Another helpful idea is choosing peace. Ask yourself what matters more, being right or being calm. Peace is more valuable. Calm creates better outcomes. Another important idea is patience again. Letting go takes time. You will not change instantly. Practice daily. Small steps matter. Another challenge is overthinking. Trying to control everything creates mental noise. Let thoughts pass. Focus on what matters now. This reduces stress. Another helpful idea is trusting the process of life. Not everything needs your control. Some things will work out without your effort. Trust reduces tension. Another important idea is boundaries. Letting go does not mean allowing everything. You still set boundaries. You still protect yourself. But you do it calmly. Calm boundaries are strong. Another challenge is emotional attachment. You may hold on to outcomes too tightly. Loosen your grip. This creates freedom. Freedom supports calm. Another helpful idea is focusing on what you can do now. Not everything at once, just the next step. Small steps reduce overwhelm. Another important idea is awareness of your limits. You cannot do everything. Accept your limits. This reduces pressure. Another challenge is stress accumulation. If you try to control too much, stress builds. Release regularly. Let go often. This keeps you balanced. Another helpful idea is reflection. Notice when control created stress. Learn from it. Learning improves awareness. Another important idea is balance. Control what you can. Release what you cannot. This balance creates calm. Another challenge is consistency. You must practice letting go. Each time you release control, you build the habit. Another helpful idea is focusing on your response. Your response is always yours. This is your power. Another important idea is freedom again. Letting go creates freedom. Freedom creates calm. Calm creates clarity. Clarity creates better action. Another challenge is fear of uncertainty again. You may feel uneasy. Stay with it. It will pass. Another helpful idea is breathing through discomfort. Breath calms the body. Calm reduces fear. Another important idea is identity shift. See yourself as someone who stays calm, someone who lets go when needed. This identity guides behavior. Another challenge is pressure to fix everything. You do not need to fix everything. Focus on what matters. Another helpful idea is simplicity again. Less control, more calm. Simple. Another important idea is that control is internal. You cannot control everything outside. You can control yourself. This is enough. Another challenge is old patterns. They will appear. Be aware. Choose differently. Another helpful idea is progress. Notice improvement. Each step matters. Another important idea is that letting go is strength, not weakness. Strength is calm. Calm is control. Most people lose control because they try to control everything. They fight reality. They resist change. But you are learning something different. You are learning to release, to accept, to focus. This changes everything. You will still act. You will still care. But you will not be controlled by everything around you. You will choose your focus. You will choose your response. And that is real power. The power to stay calm while the world moves around you. Chapter 8. Building emotional discipline through daily practice. Emotional control is not built in one moment. It is built in many small moments. Most people wait for big situations to test themselves. They think control appears when pressure comes, but control does not appear suddenly. It is trained daily, just like a muscle. You do not become strong by lifting once. You become strong by repeating simple actions again and again. Emotional discipline works the same way. It is not about one perfect reaction. It is about consistent practice. Every day gives you opportunities, small moments, simple situations. These moments may seem unimportant, but they are your training ground. When something small annoys you, that is practice. When you feel impatience, that is practice. When you want to react quickly, that is practice. These moments prepare you for bigger challenges. Most people ignore these small chances. They react without thinking. They say, "It is not a big deal." But every reaction builds a habit. Habits shape your behavior. Behavior shapes your identity. If you react in small moments, you will react in big ones. If you stay calm in small moments, you will stay calm in big ones. This is how discipline is built. Another important idea is consistency. One day of calm is not enough. You need repetition. You need to show up daily, even when you do not feel like it. Discipline is not about motivation. It is about commitment. You practice whether you feel ready or not. This builds strength. Another helpful idea is starting simple. Do not try to control everything at once. Focus on one small behavior. Pause before speaking. Breathe before reacting. These small actions build awareness. Awareness builds control. Another important idea is patience. You will not change overnight. You may still react sometimes. This is normal. Do not judge yourself. Return to practice. Each attempt matters. Another reason people struggle with discipline is inconsistency. They practice for a few days, then stop. This breaks progress. Consistency creates results. Small daily effort is more powerful than rare big effort. Another helpful idea is setting reminders. You can remind yourself to stay calm. Simple reminders guide behavior. Over time, reminders become habits. Habits make discipline automatic. Another important idea is awareness of patterns. Notice when you lose control. Notice what happens before. Patterns show where to focus. Understanding patterns improves discipline. Another challenge is emotional fatigue. When you are tired, discipline feels harder. Take care of your energy. Rest supports control. Without energy, discipline weakens. Another helpful idea is using routines. Create small routines that support calm. Morning breathing, evening reflection. Routines build structure. Structure supports discipline. Another important idea is reflection. At the end of the day, think about your reactions. What went well? What can improve? Reflection turns experience into learning. Learning builds discipline. Another challenge is expecting perfection. You will make mistakes. Discipline is not perfection. It is persistence. You continue even after failure. This builds strength. Another helpful idea is celebrating progress. Notice small improvements. You paused once. You stayed calm in one moment. This matters. Progress builds confidence. Confidence supports discipline. Another important idea is self-control in simple actions. Control how you speak. Control how you respond. Simple control builds larger control. Everything is connected. Another challenge is distraction. Your mind may wander. You may forget your intention. Bring your focus back again and again. Focus builds discipline. Another helpful idea is breathing daily. Practice breathing even when calm. This prepares you. Preparation builds strength. Another important idea is slowing down your life. When everything is rushed, discipline is harder. Slow your pace. Calm pace supports control. Another challenge is negative self-talk. If you criticize yourself, you lose motivation. Be supportive. Encourage yourself. This keeps you moving forward. Another helpful idea is identity. See yourself as someone disciplined. Identity shapes behavior. When you believe it, you act it. Another important idea is repetition. Repeat calm actions daily. Repetition builds habit. Habit builds discipline. Another challenge is external influence. Others may react emotionally. Do not follow them. Stay with your practice. Your discipline is yours. Another helpful idea is focusing on what you can control. Your actions, your breath, your response. This keeps you grounded. Another important idea is simplicity. Do not complicate discipline. Pause, breathe, respond. Simple actions repeated create powerful results. Another challenge is impatience. You may want fast results. Be patient. Growth takes time. Another helpful idea is tracking progress. Notice your improvement. This keeps you motivated. Another important idea is staying present. Discipline requires presence. When you are present, you notice your reactions. Awareness leads to control. Another challenge is emotional buildup. Release emotions regularly. Do not let them accumulate. This keeps your mind clear. Another helpful idea is practicing silence. Pause before speaking. Silence builds control. Another important idea is consistency again. Repeat daily. Do not stop. This builds strong habits. Another challenge is losing focus. You may forget your goal. Remind yourself often. Stay aligned. Another helpful idea is breathing through stress. Use breath daily. It strengthens your control. Another important idea is commitment. You must commit to discipline. Without commitment, nothing changes. Another challenge is comfort. You may prefer easy reactions. Choose growth instead. Growth builds strength. Another helpful idea is learning from mistakes. Mistakes teach you. Use them. Another important idea is self-respect. Discipline is respect for yourself. You choose better actions. Another challenge is inconsistency again. Stay steady. Even small steps matter. Another helpful idea is focusing on long-term results. Short-term reactions feel good. Long-term control is better. Choose long-term. Another important idea is awareness again. Notice everything. Awareness is the base of discipline. Another challenge is environment. Some environments test you. Use them as practice. Practice builds strength. Another helpful idea is calm repetition. Repeat calmly. No pressure. This builds natural discipline. Another important idea is progress. You are improving, even if it feels slow. Trust it. Another challenge is doubt. You may doubt yourself. Keep going. Action builds belief. Another helpful idea is staying grounded. Return to breath. Return to body. This keeps you steady. Another important idea is identity again. You are becoming disciplined. Each action builds this. Another challenge is staying consistent over time. Continue. Do not stop. Consistency creates lasting change. Another helpful idea is focus. Focus on one improvement at a time. This makes it easier. Another important idea is that discipline is freedom. It frees you from impulse. It frees you from regret. Freedom is power. Another challenge is effort. It requires effort. Accept it. Effort builds strength. Another helpful idea is routine again. Daily habits create discipline. Another important idea is calm. Discipline is calm action repeated, not forced, natural. Another challenge is persistence. Keep going, even when it feels hard. Another helpful idea is belief. Believe in your ability. This supports action. Another important idea is that discipline builds identity. You become what you practice. Practice calm. Practice control. Practice awareness. This becomes who you are. And once it becomes who you are, you no longer need to try so hard. You simply act with control. That is emotional discipline, and that is real power. Chapter 9. Staying calm around difficult people. Some people test your control more than situations. They speak sharply. They act unpredictably. They carry tension into every interaction. Being calm alone is one thing. Staying calm around difficult people is another. This is where emotional control becomes real. Most people lose control not because of events, but because of people. A single tone can trigger anger. A single comment can create frustration. This happens because people affect your emotions directly. They challenge your patience. They challenge your expectations. They challenge your sense of control. The first step is understanding this. Difficult people are not always trying to harm you. Often they are reacting to their own emotions. They may be stressed. They may be insecure. They may be overwhelmed. Their behavior reflects their state, not your worth. This understanding reduces personal reaction. When you stop taking everything personally, you create space. Space allows control. Another important idea is emotional separation. You can be around someone's emotion without absorbing it. Just because someone is angry does not mean you must become angry. Just because someone is negative does not mean you must feel negative. This is emotional independence. It protects your state. Most people mirror others without realizing it. They match tone. They match energy. This creates escalation. If one person raises their voice, the other follows. This cycle continues. Control breaks this cycle. You do not match intensity. You stay steady. Your calm becomes stronger than their reaction. Another helpful idea is observing instead of reacting. When someone behaves emotionally, watch them. Notice their tone. Notice their body language. Observation creates distance. Distance reduces reaction. When you observe, you are not pulled in. You remain in control. Another important idea is lowering expectations. You may expect people to behave reasonably, but not everyone will. When you expect less, you react less. This does not mean you accept poor behavior. It means you prepare for reality. Preparation reduces surprise. Reduced surprise lowers emotional intensity. Another challenge is the need to correct others. You may feel the urge to fix what they say, to prove them wrong, to defend yourself. This urge creates conflict. Not every situation needs correction. Sometimes silence is better. Sometimes calm response is enough. Choose wisely. Another helpful idea is controlling your tone. Even if the other person is loud, you stay calm. Even if they are aggressive, you stay steady. Tone influences the entire interaction. Calm tone reduces tension. Tension fuels reaction. Another important idea is slowing down your response. Difficult people often create urgency. They push for quick reactions. Do not follow that pace. Slow down. Pause before speaking. This creates control. Another challenge is emotional triggers. Certain people trigger you more. They remind you of past experiences. They touch sensitive areas. Awareness is key. Know who triggers you. Prepare mentally. Preparation reduces reaction. Another helpful idea is setting boundaries. Calm does not mean accepting everything. You can set limits. You can say no. You can step back. Boundaries protect your energy. Protection supports control. Another important idea is not engaging in every conflict. Some arguments are not worth it. Engaging drains energy. Walking away preserves it. Choose your battles. This is strength. Another challenge is feeling disrespected. When you feel disrespected, reaction rises quickly. Pause. Ask yourself if reacting will improve the situation. Most of the time it will not. Control your response. Respect yourself through calm. Another helpful idea is focusing on your goal. What do you want from this interaction? Peace, clarity, resolution. Keep that goal in mind. Do not get lost in emotion. Goal-focused thinking reduces reaction. Another important idea is detachment. You can interact without emotional attachment. You can listen without absorbing. Detachment creates freedom. Freedom supports calm. Another challenge is repeated behavior. Some people act the same way again and again. This creates frustration. Accept patterns. Expect them. Preparation reduces emotional impact. Another helpful idea is empathy. Try to understand their state. This does not mean you agree. It means you see their perspective. Understanding reduces anger. Reduced anger supports control. Another important idea is protecting your energy. You do not need to give energy to every situation. Save it. Use it where it matters. Energy management is control. Another challenge is emotional buildup. If you interact with difficult people often, stress builds. Release it regularly. Do not carry it. This keeps you balanced. Another helpful idea is breathing during interaction. When tension rises, return to breath. This keeps you grounded. Grounding prevents reaction. Another important idea is staying present. Do not think about past conflicts. Do not imagine future arguments. Stay in the moment. Presence reduces emotional load. Another challenge is overthinking. You may analyze their words too much. This increases tension. Simplify. Focus on what matters. Another helpful idea is not seeking approval. You do not need them to agree with you. You do not need validation. Self-validation is enough. This reduces emotional dependence. Another important idea is calm repetition. Stay calm again and again, even if they are not. Your consistency builds strength. Another challenge is frustration. You may feel tired dealing with them. Take breaks when needed. Rest supports control. Another helpful idea is choosing your response carefully. You do not need to respond to everything. Silence is an option. Use it. Another important idea is confidence. Confidence allows you to stay calm. You trust yourself. Trust reduces reaction. Another challenge is emotional contagion. Strong emotions spread. Stay aware. Do not absorb. Another helpful idea is grounding again. Feel your body. Feel your breath. This keeps you steady. Another important idea is perspective. This moment will pass. It is not permanent. This reduces intensity. Another challenge is ego. Ego wants to win. Let go of winning. Choose calm. Calm is stronger. Another helpful idea is learning from interactions. Each difficult person teaches you something. Use it. Learning builds control. Another important idea is acceptance. Some people will not change. Accept this. Focus on yourself. This creates freedom. Another challenge is reacting to tone. Tone triggers emotion. Focus on meaning instead. This reduces reaction. Another helpful idea is patience. Stay patient. Do not rush. Another important idea is discipline. Use your skills. Pause. Breathe. Observe. This maintains control. Another challenge is feeling powerless. You are not powerless. You control your response. This is real power. Another helpful idea is choosing calm over reaction. Every time. This builds habit. Another important idea is identity. See yourself as calm. Act from that identity. Another challenge is consistency. Keep practicing. Do not stop. Another helpful idea is focusing on progress. You are improving. Each moment counts. Another important idea is strength. Real strength is calm, not reaction, not aggression. Calm. Another challenge is emotional pressure. Stay steady. Use your tools. Another helpful idea is simplicity. Do not complicate. Stay calm. Stay aware. Stay in control. Another important idea is that difficult people are your training. They test you. They help you grow. Without them, you would not improve. Use these moments. They build strength. They build control. They build power. Most people lose control around difficult people. They react. They escalate. They regret. But you are learning something different. You are learning to stay calm, to stay steady, to stay in control, no matter who you face. And that is real power. Chapter 10. Turning emotional pain into inner strength. Emotional pain is part of life. It cannot be avoided. It cannot be removed completely. Everyone experiences it. Rejection, loss, disappointment, failure. These moments hurt. Most people try to escape this pain. They distract themselves. They suppress it. They ignore it. But avoided pain does not disappear. It stays inside. Over time, it builds. And when it builds, it becomes stronger. It shows up in reactions, in anger, in frustration, in loss of control. This is why emotional pain matters. If you do not face it, it controls you. If you understand it, it strengthens you. The first step is acceptance. You must accept that pain exists, not as something wrong, but as something human. Pain does not mean you are weak. It means you are aware. It means you care. Acceptance removes resistance. Resistance makes pain heavier. Acceptance makes it lighter. Another important idea is feeling without reacting. When pain appears, do not rush to escape it. Stay with it. Notice it. Where do you feel it in your body? How does it change your thoughts? This awareness reduces intensity. When you observe pain, you create distance. Distance gives you control. Another reason people struggle with pain is fear. They fear that if they feel it, it will overwhelm them. But emotions move in waves. They rise. They peak. They fall. If you allow them, they pass. If you resist them, they stay longer. Another important idea is understanding the message of pain. Pain often carries information. It shows what matters to you. It shows what affects you deeply. Instead of avoiding it, listen to it. What is it telling you? Understanding reduces confusion. Confusion increases suffering. Another helpful idea is separating pain from identity. You feel pain, but you are not the pain. This distinction is powerful. When you become the pain, it controls you. When you observe it, you control it. Another important idea is time. Pain changes with time. What feels intense now will soften. You do not need to rush healing. Give it time. Time allows clarity. Another challenge is replaying pain. You may think about it again and again. This strengthens it. Thinking feeds emotion. You can notice this pattern. When you notice, you can stop. Return to the present. Presence reduces pain. Another helpful idea is expression. Do not keep everything inside. Express your thoughts. Write them. Speak them. Expression releases pressure. Pressure builds pain. Release reduces intensity. Another important idea is learning. Pain teaches. Every difficult moment carries a lesson. Ask yourself what you can learn. Learning transforms pain. Transformation builds strength. Another challenge is blame. You may blame others. You may blame yourself. Blame keeps you stuck. Responsibility moves you forward. Take responsibility for your response. This creates control. Another helpful idea is forgiveness. Holding anger increases pain. Forgiveness releases it. This does not mean forgetting. It means letting go of the emotional weight. Release creates freedom. Another important idea is resilience. Resilience is built through pain. Each time you face it, you become stronger. Avoiding pain prevents growth. Facing it builds strength. Another challenge is fear of future pain. You may worry it will happen again. This creates anxiety. Focus on now. You can handle this moment. Confidence grows in the present. Another helpful idea is grounding. When pain feels strong, return to your body. Feel your breath. Feel your posture. Grounding reduces intensity. Another important idea is perspective. Pain feels permanent in the moment, but it is temporary. Remember this, it will pass. This thought creates hope. Another challenge is comparison. You may compare your pain to others. This does not help. Your experience is yours. Focus on your process. Another helpful idea is self-compassion. Be kind to yourself. You are learning. Kindness reduces suffering. Another important idea is growth. Pain is part of growth. It shapes you. It teaches you. It strengthens you. Another challenge is resistance. You may resist feeling. Resistance increases pain. Allow it. Allowing reduces it. Another helpful idea is breathing through pain. Slow breath calms the body. Calm body reduces emotional intensity. Another important idea is patience. Healing takes time. Do not rush. Progress is gradual. Another challenge is emotional buildup. If you ignore pain, it grows. Process it regularly. This keeps you balanced. Another helpful idea is focusing on what you can control, your response, your thoughts. This creates stability. Another important idea is meaning. You can give pain meaning. You can see it as growth. Meaning reduces suffering. Another challenge is isolation. You may feel alone. Remember, everyone experiences pain. You are not alone. Another helpful idea is connection. Talk to someone you trust. Sharing reduces burden. Another important idea is acceptance again. Accept what happened. Move forward. This creates peace. Another challenge is holding on to the past. Let it go. Focus on now. Another helpful idea is learning to let go. Not everything needs to stay. Release what no longer serves you. Another important idea is strength. Pain builds strength. You become more resilient. Another challenge is fear of feeling again. You may avoid situations. Face them slowly. This builds confidence. Another helpful idea is reflection. Think about what you learned. This builds awareness. Another important idea is identity. You are not defined by your pain. You are defined by how you respond. Another challenge is emotional attachment. You may hold on to pain. Let it go. Release creates freedom. Another helpful idea is staying present. Focus on now, not past, not future. Another important idea is hope. Things will improve. Trust this. Another challenge is overthinking. Stop replaying. Return to now. Another helpful idea is simplicity. Feel, observe, release. Simple process. Another important idea is that pain is temporary. Always remember this. Another challenge is control. You cannot control everything. Accept this. Another helpful idea is growth mindset. See pain as learning. This changes everything. Another important idea is emotional strength. Strength is not avoiding pain. It is facing it calmly. Another challenge is impatience. Be patient. Healing takes time. Another helpful idea is breathing again. Return to breath, always. Another important idea is freedom. When you process pain, you free yourself. Freedom creates calm. Calm creates control. Another challenge is fear. Face it, it weakens. Another helpful idea is trust. Trust yourself. You can handle it. Another important idea is resilience again. You grow stronger each time. Another challenge is doubt. Keep going. You are improving. Another helpful idea is progress. Notice small improvements. Another important idea is calm. Stay calm even in pain. This builds power. Emotional pain is not your enemy. It is your teacher. It shows you where to grow. It shows you what matters. When you face it with awareness, when you accept it, when you learn from it, it transforms. It becomes strength. It becomes control. And that is real power. The power to stay calm, even when life feels difficult. Chapter 11. Responding instead of reacting in every situation. Every moment gives you a choice. React or respond. Most people do not see this choice. They feel something and they act. It feels automatic. It feels instant. But there is always a decision being made. Reaction is fast. Response is controlled. Reaction comes from emotion. Response comes from awareness. This difference defines emotional control. When you react, you give control to your emotions. When you respond, you keep control within yourself. This is power. Reaction feels strong in the moment. It feels like action, but it often leads to regret. Response may feel slower, but it leads to clarity. Clarity creates better outcomes. The first step is awareness. You must notice when you are about to react. This moment is small, but it is important. Your body gives signals. Your heart speeds up. Your thoughts become sharp. Your muscles tighten. These signals tell you something is happening. If you notice them, you can pause. Pause creates space. Space allows response. Without pause, reaction takes over. Another important idea is slowing down. Reaction is fast. Response is slow. When you slow your actions, you change your behavior. You think more clearly. You choose your words. Slowing down is simple. Pause, breathe, think. These 3 steps change everything. Another helpful idea is focusing on intention. Before you speak, ask yourself what you want. Do you want to solve the problem? Do you want to protect your peace? Intention guides response. Without intention, reaction leads. Another important idea is controlling your first impulse. Your first impulse is often emotional. It is not always the best choice. Let it pass. Wait for a second thought. The second thought is calmer. Calm thoughts create better responses. Another reason people react is habit. They are used to reacting quickly. They repeat patterns. Breaking habits takes practice. Each pause weakens the old habit. Each response builds a new one. Another helpful idea is using breath. When you feel reaction rising, breathe. Slow breath calms your body. Calm body supports clear thinking. Clear thinking leads to response. Another important idea is perspective. Ask yourself how important this moment is. Will it matter later? This question reduces intensity. Reduced intensity supports control. Another challenge is emotional triggers. Triggers push reaction. Awareness helps. When you know your triggers, you prepare. Preparation reduces reaction. Another helpful idea is listening fully. When someone speaks, listen. Do not prepare your response immediately. Listening creates understanding. Understanding leads to better response. Another important idea is choosing your words carefully. Words have impact. Reaction words can hurt. Response words can solve. Choose carefully. Another challenge is urgency. Emotions create urgency. They push you to act quickly. Most situations are not urgent. Slow down. Time creates clarity. Another helpful idea is not taking things personally. People act from their own emotions. Not everything is about you. This reduces reaction. Another important idea is emotional control is a skill. You improve with practice. Each moment is practice. Another challenge is ego. Ego wants to react. It wants to defend. Let it go. Focus on calm. Calm is stronger. Another helpful idea is silence. You do not need to respond immediately. Silence is a response. It gives you time. Time gives you control. Another important idea is observing your thoughts. Thoughts push reaction. You do not need to follow every thought. Observation creates distance. Distance supports response. Another challenge is emotional buildup. If you carry stress, you react faster. Release stress regularly. This keeps you balanced. Another helpful idea is grounding. Feel your body. Feel your breath. Grounding reduces reaction. Another important idea is learning from each situation. Reflect after. What did you do? What can improve? Learning builds awareness. Awareness builds control. Another challenge is expecting perfection. You will react sometimes. This is normal. Do not judge yourself. Return to practice. Another helpful idea is focusing on progress. Each calm response matters. Progress builds confidence. Another important idea is patience. Change takes time. Stay consistent. Another challenge is negative thinking. It increases reaction. Shift your focus. Focus on solutions. Solutions support response. Another helpful idea is staying present. Do not think about past or future. Stay in the moment. Presence reduces emotional load. Another important idea is discipline. You must practice response daily. Discipline builds habit. Habit builds control. Another challenge is distractions. Stay focused. Focus supports awareness. Another helpful idea is calm repetition. Repeat the process. Pause. Breathe. Respond. This builds strength. Another important idea is identity. See yourself as someone who responds. This shapes behavior. Another challenge is emotional intensity. Strong emotions make it harder. Use breath. Use pause. Another helpful idea is slowing your voice. Slow voice supports calm thinking. Another important idea is control. Control is choosing your response, not reacting automatically. Another challenge is pressure. Pressure pushes reaction. Stay calm. Use your tools. Another helpful idea is trust. Trust yourself. You can handle situations calmly. Another important idea is growth. You are improving. Each moment builds skill. Another challenge is consistency. Keep practicing. Do not stop. Another helpful idea is simplicity. Keep it simple. Pause, think, respond. Another important idea is calm. Calm is power. Calm creates control. Control creates better outcomes. Another challenge is old habits. They return. Stay aware. Choose differently. Another helpful idea is focusing on your goal. What do you want from this moment? Keep that in mind. Another important idea is awareness again. Notice everything. Awareness is key. Another challenge is emotional reaction. You may feel it. Do not act on it immediately. Wait. Another helpful idea is breathing again. Return to breath. Always. Another important idea is strength. Strength is response, not reaction. Another challenge is patience again. Stay patient. Growth takes time. Another helpful idea is progress. Notice improvement. Keep going. Another important idea is control again. You control your response. This is your power. Most people react. They lose control. They follow emotion. But you are learning something different. You are learning to pause, to think, to choose. This changes everything. You will still feel emotions, but you will not be controlled by them. You will respond with clarity. You will act with intention. And that is real power. The power to stay calm, no matter the situation. Chapter 12. Becoming unshakable in any situation. There comes a point where control becomes natural, not forced, not difficult, steady. This is what it means to become unshakable. Being unshakable does not mean you feel nothing. It does not mean life becomes easy. It means your center stays strong, no matter what happens. Situations may change. People may act unpredictably. Emotions may rise, but you remain grounded. You remain calm. This is the highest level of emotional control. Most people are controlled by external events. Their mood changes with every situation. Good moment, they feel good. Bad moment, they feel bad. They move up and down constantly. Being unshakable is different. Your state comes from within, not from outside. This creates stability. Stability is power. The first step is understanding that nothing outside has full control over you. Events happen, people speak, situations change, but your response is always yours. This awareness changes everything. You stop giving power away. You take it back. Another important idea is emotional balance. You allow emotions, but you do not depend on them. You feel joy without losing control. You feel anger without reacting. Balance creates strength. Strength creates calm. Another reason people feel shaken is attachment. They attach to outcomes. They attach to expectations. When things do not go their way, they feel unstable. Letting go of attachment creates freedom. Freedom creates stability. Another helpful idea is inner clarity. Know who you are. Know what you value. When you are clear inside, outside events affect you less. Clarity acts like a foundation. Without it, everything feels unstable. With it, you remain steady. Another important idea is mental discipline. Your thoughts shape your emotions. If your thoughts are chaotic, your emotions follow. If your thoughts are calm, your emotions settle. Control your thoughts, not by force, by awareness. Observe them. Choose which ones to follow. This creates control. Another challenge is external pressure. People may try to influence you. They may push you. They may provoke you. If you react, they control you. If you stay calm, you stay in control. This is power. Another helpful idea is resilience. Resilience is the ability to return to calm quickly. You may feel shaken for a moment, but you come back faster each time. This builds confidence. Confidence builds stability. Another important idea is detachment, not emotional distance. Clarity. You see situations without being overwhelmed. You respond without losing yourself. Detachment protects your state. Another reason people lose stability is overthinking. Too many thoughts create confusion. Simplify. Focus on what matters now. This reduces noise. Noise creates instability. Another helpful idea is grounding. Return to your body. Feel your breath. Feel your posture. Grounding brings you back to control. Another important idea is acceptance. Not everything will go your way. Accept this. Acceptance reduces resistance. Resistance creates stress. Another challenge is emotional triggers. Triggers still exist, but you handle them differently. You notice them. You pause. You choose. This is growth. Another helpful idea is consistency. You apply your skills every day, not only in big moments. Consistency builds identity. Identity builds strength. Another important idea is self-trust. Trust yourself. You can handle anything calmly. This belief changes your response. Another challenge is uncertainty. Life is uncertain. Trying to control everything creates stress. Accept uncertainty. Work with it. This creates calm. Another helpful idea is focusing on your response. Always return to this. What can you control? Your response. This keeps you grounded. Another important idea is emotional independence. Your state does not depend on others. You create your own calm. This is true freedom. Another challenge is negative environments. Some environments are stressful. Stay aware. Protect your state. Use your tools. Another helpful idea is perspective. Most situations are temporary. They pass. Remember this. This reduces intensity. Another important idea is patience. Stay patient. Calm takes time to build. Another challenge is ego. Ego reacts. Calm observes. Choose calm. Another helpful idea is silence. Silence keeps you grounded. Use it. Another important idea is breath. Always return to breath. It centers you. Another challenge is distraction. Stay focused. Focus builds control. Another helpful idea is reflection. Learn from each moment. This builds awareness. Another important idea is progress. You are growing, even when it feels slow. Trust it. Another challenge is pressure. Pressure will come. Stay steady. Use your skills. Another helpful idea is simplicity. Keep it simple. Pause. Breathe. Observe. Respond. This is enough. Another important idea is identity. You are becoming unshakable. Each action builds this. Another challenge is fear. Fear will appear. Do not follow it. Stay calm. Another helpful idea is belief. Believe in your control. This supports action. Another important idea is strength. Real strength is calm, not reaction. Calm. Another challenge is consistency again. Keep practicing. Do not stop. Another helpful idea is focus again. Focus on what matters. Your response. Another important idea is control again. You control yourself. This is enough. Another challenge is old patterns. They may return. Stay aware. Choose differently. Another helpful idea is grounding again. Return to your body. This keeps you steady. Another important idea is resilience again. You recover quickly. This builds confidence. Another challenge is doubt. Ignore it. Keep going. Another helpful idea is progress again. Notice improvement. Another important idea is calm again. Calm is your power. It protects you. It guides you. Another challenge is life itself. Life will test you. Use it. Grow from it. Another helpful idea is trust again. Trust yourself. You are capable. Another important idea is that being unshakable is not about control of the world. It is about control of yourself. This is the highest form of power. Most people are controlled by everything around them, but you are learning something different. You are learning to stay calm, to stay steady, to stay in control, no matter what happens. This does not mean life will be perfect. It means you will be prepared. Prepared for pressure, prepared for emotion, prepared for challenge. And with that preparation, with that awareness, with that discipline, you become unshakable. Not because nothing affects you, but because nothing controls you. And that is real power. The power to stay calm while others lose control. The power to stay grounded while others react. The power to remain yourself in every situation. And that power stays with you for life.